And I just see this as a dance. And when I realized too that balance is not like, we oftentimes think of balance as a static thing of like, I'm in perfect balance between my masculine and my feminine, or I'm in perfect balance with relationship and with work, or with play and with work. But it's really, I like the term harmony more, because balance is not static. It's not a static act. It's a constant dance. It's a swinging.
I really believe that they need to work together. And again, I think in this space, it's very just like one or the other.
Right.
And I just think the magic is making it work together. And that is how I create things quickly, you know? And I think there's a flow to it. Like there's a timing piece of it. Like if I'm not feeling it, I can't force it. But if I wake up and I'm feeling it, I can write a book in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? Like done.
Yeah.
But if I try to make myself write a book today because it was on my calendar, it will take me 3 months.
Yeah.
It will take me
Makes
6
sense.
months. All right. I'm excited.
Let's roll.
Well, I want to ask you, because you're the one that picked the topic.
I picked the topic?
So why did you pick this topic?
Yeah, I've been having more and more conversations around this. I've started talking a little bit more about it on my podcast. And I realized specifically for men, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of spaces where we can talk about masculinity and healthy masculinity and what that looks like, where it also has a space. It's not just like the sales bro or like drinking buddies, that kind of thing, but that is deeply embodied masculinity. And I realized a lot through our conversations as well that the lack of that directly affects the feminine and directly affects everyone in our society and directly affects our women as well. And so I've just felt the pull to continue to explore this topic for myself first and foremost, because everything I do or talk about is through the lens of me being a curious student of life and looking to learn from everywhere I can and everyone. And also to create this container to be able to have this alongside a dear friend of mine who also represents so much of the divine feminine, and to explore conversation and honestly just see what goes. And it's also kind of like a hot topic, I think, a little bit. I mean, what do we call this? The masculine void and the feminine response. Yeah. Right? It's a little triggering. It can be, for sure. And because I think there is a void of the masculine, of what true masculine presence means and is. And I think we need to start to have that conversation. Yeah. Because I'm starting to notice, as I am working on that as first and foremost in my relationship, as I'm working on that with certain clients or my friends, I'm starting to notice the downstream ripple effect that happens in our lives as men, where we're not talking about enough, but I start to see the positive ripple effect that starts to happen in the relationships, in work environments, in friendships. And I think that's something super unique as well, that like we have a great platonic friendship or relationship, which is, you don't see that every day either. And so, yeah, I think that was the reason of just like, there's something around this topic and I'm not quite sure where we're going to go with it, but now that we have everybody in the room, we're going somewhere with it.
We're going to go somewhere with it.
How about you?
Well, I was excited for you to be in your masculine and pick the topic. So I didn't want to pick it. Yeah. And for me, this is core to all of my work, and I find with every client we always come back here, but it's definitely not something I feel like I publicly lead with. Right. And I'm excited about this dynamic for the reason that you just said. I feel like a lot of times when this topic is discussed, it's two people who are in a romantic partnership. Right. And so I feel like there's already a bias in that direction. Yep, good point. And I also have my partner here, so he can call me out on my bullshit. But this is something that I've been in exploration of for a long time within myself, to keep growing and finding that balance of being in my healthy masculine as somebody who owns a business and is an entrepreneur, and also being able to be in my feminine, because that is my core essence. Right. I feel like there are not enough spaces as well for women that are actually grounded in this. You do need a healthy divine masculine. Right. I think it's very much is feminine energy, and it's one specific flavor of feminine energy. It's a lot of like that maiden archetype. And I know this came up, Josh and I were,
let's talk about this,
on a retreat, and I don't even really remember I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I was sharing with one of the women who was there. I was like, well, there's so many different archetypes within the feminine. And for context, because she was saying how she wants to get more into her feminine within the business, but it was just really focusing on one flavor of that bandwidth, right? Yeah, And part of the point I was making was I'm not, the way that I show up in my feminine as I would as a mother is not going to be the same flavor of my feminine energy that I'm going to show up with my partner and as his lover, right? Is not going to be the same feisty feminine I'm showing up in as a business owner. And I think that there's also that blurry area for people with like what's the fiery feminine versus what's masculine energy. They are distinct, but there are so many different flavors of feminine energy and flavors of masculine energy. And I also see that a lot with masculine, where men will come to me and they'll say, you know, everyone says I'm too in my feminine. I'm like, you're not actually in your feminine. You're actually very divine masculine, but you're more in like your wizard archetype. Like you're more in like your magician archetype. And it's just a different flavor of it, right? But I think this is, well, I know this is key for everything we want to manifest in our lives is having that balance and coming into inner union within ourselves. And neither of us are perfect, but I think we've done a really good job at learning how to balance both. And I'm not perfect, but I've definitely had to learn a lot about like how to drop into my feminine in a romantic partnership. And I've seen that mirrored back to me just in over, you know, throughout my life of the different people I've attracted in. You can tell a lot about yourself and the pole you're holding based on like who you're attracting in. And so, yeah, I feel like I've figured a lot out. I've also have a lot still to figure out too. But what I do want to say before we kind of fully jump into this for everybody here and everybody listening is, for the ease of language in the conversation, we're going to be communicating this. You know, I am a female who identifies as a woman who is heterosexual, and Josh is a male who identifies as a man and is heterosexual. So we're going to be having this conversation from that lens. So however that applies in your own life, apply it in that way. Masculine and feminine energy is within all of us, no matter how you identify. So just so everybody understands, right? And this is a really triggering topic. I think it's a lot less triggering, I have found for myself, in one-on-one conversations, because I do have this conversation with so many people. But for whatever reason on the internet, I feel like it really irritates a lot of people. I think because it's a fine line between like blame energy, and nobody wants to be blamed and nobody wants to feel like they're the problem. But we have to be able to have these discussions so that we can take responsibility for where we have responsibility. And it doesn't have to be about blaming, right? That's all perception. But we do have to see, and I think it happens within all of us, of like, okay, yeah, maybe I need more from you, and for me to receive that, I need to show up in a higher way within myself, right? Because it's all a reflection. So you know, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But I do want to preface with that conversation. And I think for us to, I know for me, right, like for us to be able to go into this fully, we have to feel safe in the conversation to be able to share our personal experience and things that have worked for us. But I think this is a moving target and a dance, you know, and we're adding things on with, you know, like culturally, politically, in terms of, you know, you think about marriage, for example, and even what was legal back in the day, right? Not everybody could get married. And marriage was a business decision, right? And women didn't have rights, right? Like men, if they weren't heterosexual, couldn't be with the person they loved. Like there were so many dynamics that have changed culturally, politically. Evolving. Yeah, it's still evolving. And so I think that we really need to understand that there are layers to this. Like when I've looked at my relationship with masculine energy, there are so many layers ancestrally, politically, right? Well, like religiously.
You would have been literally burned at the stake if we were born in a different time. You know what I mean? That. Like pretty much, I would say everyone here, all the women here certainly would be. Right? And like that's good wild times to think about, and that's an important part of the conversation. And I think it's interesting that like this is coming kind of back to the collective consciousness right now, because we're able to, I think, finally hold up the mirror and look at this a little bit deeper and see where our role is tone in this.
I want to start with like the big zoom out, because I don't know that I feel like we need to stay there that long.
Okay, great.
Just from my perspective, because the big zoom out is where I'm always landing with anybody I'm working with. And the big zoom out is, I talk to a lot of women who feel like there aren't enough men in their masculine energy. And this isn't 100%. I'm just saying this is one trend, right? I talk to a lot of men who feel like women are too in their masculine energy. And I'll say from my perspective, like when I used to tell myself that story that like men, it's so hard to find a man in his masculine because I told myself that story. If we're feeling that, there's the issue of like what our perception is and like how that's changing what we attract in. Because when I changed that story, everything in my life changed. And I attracted in a lot of divine masculine men into my life. But that is reflecting the larger thing at play, which is our disconnection from the frequency of divine masculine in terms of divine father. So source, that is everything. If we go down a dimension or a density, you land into pure masculine essence and pure feminine essence that flows through everything. Everything in nature is masculine and feminine, right?
Divine mother, divine father.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so you can use that term, but it's, it's just masculine, feminine essence. It's the structure, it's the groundedness, right? It's the cup that holds the water, which is the flow. That is the essence of everything. And when I'm looking at our personal experience and I understand how reality works, it's okay, this is indicative that we as a collective and maybe us individually, where am I disconnected from the frequency of divine father, of divine mother? Because it goes both ways. And we can do the human thing and say, okay, it's my father wounds, it's my mother wounds. We can have that conversation. It's not that that's not real, but the bigger thing is it's actually more about, from my perspective and the work I do spiritually, it's actually more about a disconnection. Like if I look at the energy body of, I don't feel a connection to divine feminine, like Mother Earth, mother feminine that's flowing through the ether all the time. I don't feel supported by divine masculine, by father, by the earth, by my house, right? Like all of those structures that represent masculine energy. And you look at something like money and people who struggle with money, and it's like, have that conversation with source or with God or with the divine of like if the divine wants to deliver to you, do you believe that it can? Do you believe that the masculine can support you in that way? Right? So it's going to show up in your relationship with money is one clear example. But my point is it's all connected, but I think a lot of times we go into the symptom when really a lot of what's going on is we are really disconnected from divine masculine, divine feminine, divine father, divine mother in terms of its essence and the fact that it's flowing through everything and everyone and ourselves. And when we plug into that, it automatically heals a lot of this stuff.
I like that. And to me, I see it as that's our natural state, right? Like that is our natural connected state. And so it's like, I always think, because I hear this all the time, just like, how do I do more of this? How do I do more of that? It's like, how can you do less of, right? Like, how do we have addition by subtraction here? How do we peel back some of the layers that we've been putting on? Like the analogy of we're all holding a cork underneath the ocean and we're holding it, squeezing it, holding it. Come on, don't let go. What happens when you finally let it go? Bobs up to the surface. And it's natural rhythm, natural state. And I feel like that's so much of it because we look to the natural world. We look to the animal kingdom. We look to the plant kingdom. Like we look at our world around us and everything is naturally flowing in that yin and yang. It's like it is the sun and the moon. It is these cycles. It is the masculine and feminine. So to me, I like to think about it a lot of addition by subtraction and what are the layers that we can remove? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves that are blocking us actually? Because often it's just rewriting. It's like, okay, I'm telling myself the story that there's not good masculine men out there. Like, okay, it's probably gonna be your experience. Like, or in a relationship, you want your man to step up. What ways are you preventing him from stepping up? Are you giving him the opportunity to step up in those ways in your feminine and honoring that? So I like to think about it a lot. Like, what are the ways that we can start to peel back to return, because that's our natural state. And it makes it a lot easier when we think about that, because it's not like, oh, how do I go reconnect and plug back into this thing? It's like, no, you are that. Like you are all of this. And it's like that connection is our birthright, and it's innate, and it's the natural state.
Yeah. And so like another way of phrasing that, if people are like, okay, is if I'm not embodied in my healthy divine masculine, I will not experience healthy divine masculine in my external reality. If I am not embodied in my healthy divine feminine, I will not experience healthy divine feminine in my external reality, whether that might be a romantic partner or friendships or support in your business or money. It doesn't matter what the physical manifestation is. It's all energies, and it is a direct reflection of your frequency of where you're embodied in that energy, because your reality is just going to reflect that back to you.
Totally. There's a personal story I'd love to share on this topic, because I think back to myself, and this might be helpful for all of you to get some context as well. But I was as masculine, deep into the masculine as I could possibly get without an understanding of what feminine energy even meant, right? For most of my life. And I was probably 21, 22 years old when I did my yoga teacher training. And that kind of started to open the doorway to like, oh, there's another way here. And bless Melissa May, my yoga teacher training instructor. Shout out to you, Melissa May. I know you're listening to this. She gave me a hug one day, and I think she could see this, right? Like I white knuckled my way through life. I white knuckled my way. I made things happen. I was damn good at it. I was working at a startup company in San Francisco at 21 years old, making a 6-figure plus salary with equity, like in meetings with Tony Robbins and these incredible people. And like, I believe the way that I got there was I put my head down and I got there, and I worked hard to get there, and I could create that. I could force my will there, and like the whole world was my oyster. And Melissa May kind of rocked the shit out of me when she gave me a hug, and like I pulled away pretty quickly, and she was just like, no, stay here for a second, like relax. And I get emotional just thinking about it right now. And she just held me, and she's just like, let go. And I was like very uncomfortable first, and then she's like, let go. And I was like, and then I just felt this unraveling of like, oh my God, wow. It just opened up something totally new within me. And I grew up in a very affectionate family who gave lots of hugs, lots of kisses, like, but I had never felt like I actually was held for the first time. And that opened this portal, and I was just like, oh, whoa, what was that? And that kind of started to open this doorway for me. Now I love giving hugs, especially to men, because I will hold them and say, let go. Like, let's take a breath. That's better, right? And actually hold each other and to feel that presence. And so that opened up this whole doorway for me to be like, oh, whoa, like what was that part of me that felt this surrender? And like, that was a little scary, but that also felt so good. Like what was that? And where else am I tensing? Because she was just like, you're tense, like let go. And even when I thought I let go, there was another layer, let go. And she held me. And so that started to shift the script of like, whoa, what is this whole thing around letting go? What is this whole thing around allowing? That's where Abraham Hicks' book fell onto my desk, and I started to understand this whole different thing around the art of allowing, and this whole different art to the science of achievement, of goal, of go. And it was like, whoa, this whole different thing that started to come up.
I love that story. We've talked about this, like, because I have a lot of male clients, and I think there's something so healing, I think for everyone, but especially a lot of men, to be touched in a platonic way by a woman.
Yeah.
like this, because every time, like, the men cry more than the women in my session.
I believe that.
Every time, because I'll put my hand right on their heart space.
Yeah.
And they just start bawling. Like every time.
Yeah.
And it's like you've never had someone just like put their hand there.
No.
And I think even outside of like that context in general, like most of the time when we touch each other, there's context. It's like with your partner, okay, yeah, like you're cuddling, or you're gonna have sex or whatever. Like
right.
you're it's almost like too intentional. But I feel like we don't touch each other as much, right?
Yeah.
And there's something really powerful. Like I feel like that's a touch with like God frequency.
Yeah.
Okay, right in that moment, if you want to look at poles, because like I think it's really helpful to understand how the poles play out. It's like someone is holding a container for me, so they're holding the masculine pole for me, and they're also in their feminine energy because it's coming from a nurturing space. And so that's why moments where somebody is holding a space for you from a nurturing energy, not like a grounded and not a like double masculine,
right.
That's where you touch God. And that's why that
beautiful.
type of connection, even just like sitting and sharing with somebody, like if you can hold a container for someone with that nurturing divine feminine energy and hold both those poles at the same time, like that's where we touch God.
Right.
And that's why it cracks people open.
Makes so
and
much
that is
sense.
like and I teach this in a lot of my trainings, I'm like, that's how you facilitate a space.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to be in both, because if it's too masculine,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that does something to hold a container.
Mm-hmm.
But the second you add in your feminine energy,
Mm-hmm.
that is when people surrender.
Right.
They're like, they are in their divine child at that point.
That's so true.
Right?
It's also why I start every podcast, every environment. Did you guys feel that shift when we just touched in for a quick sec? Just to like, we're setting the container, we're setting the space, and like, let's breathe into that. Like, let's be present with that for a second. And especially when I'm doing breath work, and especially with a lot of men, it's like that touch makes such a difference. So that makes sense as you explain it that way.
I feel like, okay, the two things I feel like we really need to focus on are, based on what people shared, business and relationships. Probably heavier on the relationships, but they kind of go hand in hand. I feel like we should start with business, and
Let's
then
start with business.
spend more of the juice on the relationships. So why don't you share how you, like, your journey to learning balance there, or how that plays out for you in business? Because it might be different for me.
Yeah, definitely. It all starts with this inner commitment to exploration. And like you're saying, how powerful that touch feels from someone else, especially with men. We don't touch ourselves. We don't touch ourselves at all. In fact, just earlier this afternoon, I interviewed someone for my podcast who's a men's sexual energy coach and sex coach, and he helps men overcome premature ejaculation. And one of the ways, and he's actually about to do some clinical research on this, is that he has like one of those massage guns, those Theraguns, and he says with himself and with all of his clients, if you do like a self massage and you're like emoting as well as you're doing a self massage before self pleasure or before having sex, like you will double the length of the time that you last.
Wow.
Which is wild, right? And I think part of that is that like we're not in our feeling, we've neglected that part of us as men too, to be able to touch it and feel. So I'll leave that anecdote there. But I feel like, especially with business, it was this I kind of swung the pendulum. I went deep, as I was saying, in Silicon Valley, like grinding. I was doing a 250-hour yoga teacher training while we were launching a startup company, and I was just going at it, listening to podcasts, a whole thing. And then that felt like I burnt out. I felt like I burnt out doing that, and that's how it happens. Like, maybe there's another way, and then all of a sudden in comes this other perspective of the art of allowing. What does that mean? And I love how Tony Robbins says of it that there's two things, and I always focus on this in business, is there's the science of achievement. There's certain things, there's habits, there's a science to achieving certain things, and there's psychology that we can work with. But then there's this art of allowing, and the art of fulfillment as well. And I just see this as a dance. And when I realized too that balance is not, like, we oftentimes think of balance as a static thing of like, I'm in perfect balance between my masculine and my feminine, or I'm in perfect balance with relationship and with work, or with play and with work. But it's really, I like the term harmony more, because balance is not static. It's not a static act. It's a constant dance. It's a swinging. And that gave me a lot of permission also to, instead of trying to be like, okay, I got to have everything done, I got to have all my to-do list done, my morning routine done, of like, this is a dance, and this is an awareness dance of like, okay, cool. This is a moment in business or in time, like when we're building Edge and we're building it up to 20 million in 2.5 years, of like, this is a time to go. Like, this is a time that we got to sprint. And then it's also like, this is actually a time where we need to pause, and we need to focus on, how do we nurture this brand? What does that look like? How can we not try to go grab that partnership, but how do we put ourselves in a position to receive that? And so I went and I swung from like the straight masculine all the way to the other side, where I was like, I went backpacked around Southeast Asia for 8 months and was just like, I'm going with the flow. This is great. This is fun. And then I got to the end of that and I was just like, I feel burnt out also. And I didn't realize that I could feel burnt out from being too much in my feminine. I thought that was the answer. I was like, oh, this over here, what about this? All this magic that's happening. And then I felt unfulfilled because I wasn't I wasn't building towards something. And part of that masculine energy is that build energy. It's that progressive energy and moving things forward that I felt like I was lacking. And so that's where I kind of came back to this concept of harmony and balance, of like, how do I explore both of these parts? How do I practice inner union within myself and explore both of these parts and understand that balance is a dance? Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I want to get granular for people, because I think this is really helpful. Like, this is what I was trying to figure out for a long time, and I'm still,
Let's hear it.
But what I want to reflect back to you, because there's like And it's true with relationships too. Like if we're going to talk about, oh, I'm like generally in one pole more than the other. We're all in both, right? So we're always moving back and forth. So even when you were, hyper in your masculine, as you're describing it, you still were in your feminine, right? Like, and same on the other side, right? That's like a masculine way of being in your feminine, right? Backpacking, like that was like true. I'm like hiking freaking
true.
That was like not feminine, but
not at Foreman Spa like you.
I would be at the spa. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think with business, just to kind of, because I want it to be helpful for people, is what I see you do, and because everybody does it differently, but you hold a lot more of your masculine with your business, like the way that you approach business and work, but where your feminine comes out is the choices that you're making within the business. So I feel like externally it looks a lot more masculine, but I get to hear inside your brain,
right,
when you verbally tell me, and when I just read your mind. Your mental process, which is actually a lot more feminine, because when you like, you're actually going through like, God, what do you desire from me? Like, what is the mission?
Surrender to it.
Like watching you move through closing ed, that was surrender.
Totally.
Like that was deep surrender and peace in surrender. And I think that's the side that people maybe don't see as much point. Because you definitely lead with your more masculine, like, hike the mountain.
Is that what it sound like?
Yeah,
is that what it sound like?
It's 100%. That's my best Josh impression. But you're like, you got keep going. Like you definitely lead a lot more with that. But the piece that I think people don't hear as much, that I know is going on internally underneath it, that's actually stronger. That is your feminine of like receiving from divine and flowing with and surrendering with, because you are. And I don't think that you say it verbally as much as it's going on, because it's actually going on a lot, is like what's actually in alignment with my mission, like what's in alignment with what God wants for me. As I know how you I say it every single day. Yeah.
And I said it as we were trying to figure out, are we going to save the business, or are we going to is it going to go under? Are we going to be in $500,000 of personal debt coming out of this? Like, and I said it every single day, God, please lead me where you need me most. Like, I surrender. Like, I'm here. I'm going to focus on my part. And like, my part is actually so freaking small. It's like, all I need to do is show up on time. And like, I need to show up on time and like wipe my ass. That's it. Right. Like straight up. It's like the rest. It's like, we need to do so little. There's so much like, right? Yeah. Like there's a line for you. You can like that one. But it's like, we need to do so little, honestly. And that's what I focus on.
Show up and wipe your ass.
That's it. There we go. It's so true. Show up on time, wipe your ass. That's it. Like that's all, in my opinion. It's like that puts us in the position to take the most high leverage action.
Well, I think it's true, but it's not, because what you just said, I have to take the most high leverage action.
No, but it puts us in the position to then take the most high leverage action.
But that's masculine.
Taking the action is, but surrendering first is feminine.
Yeah, so surrender first, yes, right? But exactly. I don't actually think it's just I show up on time. I think I have to also take action.
Yes. Right?
So, that's the wiping part, right?
Yeah.
So, what I want to ask you is, how do you feel like logic versus emotion, like feeling, plays out for you in business?
Yeah, great question. One of the most helpful things I ever did in business is I did a human design, and I realized what my authority type was. I do this with every client I work with. I share this far and wide with every single person that's in business, that you should absolutely do for yourself and for your team. And you can do a bunch of other things like DISC assessment, Myers-Briggs, type finders, personality, all those things. But understanding what your authority type is. I'm a sacral authority. And I don't know much about human design, but I know enough to know that I may...
You're so obviously a sacral authority.
Right? Of like, the way that I come to decisions is like, I feel it. Like, I feel it in my body. And it's like, it's a very clear yes or no. It's not logical. It's emotional in a way, but it's like, it's very clearly right then and there. And so in business, for example, here's a great practical tool is I had a co-founder at Edge, my cousin, Love, and we're amazing friends. And we were able to navigate everything as friends still. And he is an emotional. authority. So he takes some time to like process and like let it land, and like a day later. And I noticed that whenever we were coming to decisions together, I would be in the immediate like, yes, like we got to do this, like we got to do this. And he would be like, well, like, you know, those of you know Rob knows, like, I don't know, man, he thought I was too trigger happy, or I was chasing shiny objects, or like too impulsive. But in my mind, it was just like, no, that's a clear yes or no. And he's like, you're not thinking it through. Like, let's go through the pros and cons list. I was like, if I see another freaking pros and cons list, Rob, like, I'm gonna flip out. And then I learned, we come to like, we make decisions differently. And then I shared with him what sacral authority is and emotional. And it was amazing because I was no longer annoyed that he was slowing me down. I felt like he was slowing me down. He wasn't getting in. I wanted to run faster. And he felt like I was way too impulsive, and he was like trying to keep up with me. And we always came to the same decision. It would just take a day for us to do that. So that's a really valuable tool I recommend everybody and to lead with. And so for me in business decisions, specifically to answer your question, is I gather data and I feel into it. Like currently right now, I'm evaluating a couple different potentially very big career moves for myself, and I'm not stressing it. Like a past version of me would have stressed it. I got to make a decision, all these things, all the outcome. I'm just like, I know whatever's in the highest good is going to happen. And my prayer is like, and I pray every single morning of like, God, please make this clear for me. Please make it abundantly clear which is the best decision in your highest good and with the highest good for all. And I'm unattached to that. And I think for this room here, I see all these people, beautiful people that are in service of others. Like we're here to raise your hand if you're in service for others in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. It's like, we made that decision a long time ago, guys. Like, thy will, not my will. And it's amazing what happens when we can open up to that truly and be non-attached to whatever that looks like. And it takes work, but it also is the easiest thing to do. Just like, okay, I'm gonna roll with this. And so for me, I make the decision by I'm constantly checking in, and it's like constantly just I'm getting that internal feedback, but I'm getting as much data as I can until the decision becomes very clear.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I want to go on kind of both sides. Because you work with a lot of men, you've coached a lot of men.
Yes.
And in the business realm, what do you see playing out with the masculine and feminine? Like, what do you feel like most men need to hear?
I think most men need to hear that most men are trying to shape and mold their business and their thing. They're trying to force it so much. There's so much forcing. And so, you know, what you taught me when I came in for my first session, knocked my socks off, was... That's
why he's not wearing any.
That's what I'm not wearing. So, yeah, knocked him off. Haven't had him
Kills
since
me every time.
2020. Was the fact that our business, you were like, you know, your business is its own entity. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's like an LLC, right? It's like an S corp. It's, of course, its own entity. Like, I know this, Christina. Like, I'm not that dumb. And you're like, no. Like, it's its own energetic entity. And I was like, what? And you're like, yeah. And because you did some energy work on Edge. And you were like, Edge is like a glowing white castle. It looks beautiful. Most people are strangling it. But yours looks beautiful. But the castle wants to be a kingdom. And I was like, oof. Wow, that you're like, you need to think bigger. I'm like, how do I think bigger? We just went from $1 to $12 million from year 1 to year 2. Like, what do you mean think bigger? Like, what are you talking about? And then I realized that's just Christina Rice. So, but that is something that I really bring that perspective, because I think a lot of men are disconnected from the mission that they started and their why. They're disconnected. It's very easy to get swept up into the X's and O's and the logistics and the spread. It's very easy to get sucked into that and to get very caught in the 3D game, so to speak. And so for most of my work with men is really bringing them more in touch with that, with their inner divine feminine, with that, to be able to lean into their intuition. What is your intuition telling you? How are you connecting with that? That's why I love breath work as a tool, because we just cut out the blood flow right to the prefrontal cortex, get into the limbic system, get into the deeper parts of our brain, so we can actually feel and emote and have different experiences. And so that, I would say, that's pretty much constant across the board, is connecting people back. Like, just to give you a very pertinent example, last week I'm working with someone who I'm helping him build out and advising him as he's building out his coaching offers and his courses and curriculum. He built a well-known household name brand and sold it to Coca-Cola for $200 million, and then bought it back as he started a venture capital fund. So he's playing at that level. And it never occurred to him that the work that he's doing now, where he's helping other founders really redefine success in their own way and build a lifestyle around that like that has the potential to save lives. And even just me mentioning that as we were starting, of like, it's not about you, like it's about the message and the mission, was mind blowing to him. And he had never considered, and I could just see how his gears were turning, of like, this is so much deeper and bigger versus just the execution. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I have that conversation.
You have that conversation all the time. Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, I just had this conversation last week with someone who is a director and an actor and a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, how are you deciding what movie you're going to work on? And he's like, well, you know, I'm like, what needs to be made for the planet? And he was like, whoa, literally never thought about it that way. I'm like, how? Like, how?
Right.
Right. But it blows people's minds, you know?
It does.
I want to ask you succinctly.
Okay, I have questions for you.
But
okay,
just one thing.
Sure.
In just 2 words or 5 words, okay? Do you think that people are hustling too hard or not hustling enough?
Oh, wow. What a question. Do I think people are hustling too hard or not hustling enough? What's coming through right now is, I think, I'll keep this short, but I think people are hustling too much on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Confusing productivity with busyness.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the masculine. I mean, all of us, but like we want to feel productive,
Mm-hmm.
and we confuse busyness with productivity.
Yeah.
So I think we built a culture around hustle. It's like, what are we actually moving the needle? And I've learned that sometimes the most beneficial thing I can do for myself or for my business or for my team when we were leading the team is to be able to like actually go take a walk on the beach before this next meeting comes up, like, or like walk away from my computer because I'm just swimming upstream right now and this is not serving me. So I'm gonna go take a lap around the building. Like that actually can be the most productive thing for me in this moment and for myself. Yeah.
Great answer.
Okay,
I'll shut up.
Okay, thank you. I love it. What I'm curious for you is like, I mean, look where we're sitting, right? We're sitting in dreamland. Like you've made dreamland. Like I've always been inspired and impressed, to be honest, with how you are someone I think that a lot of people look up to, both all people, right? But I think a lot of women specifically, because you are someone who has built a business, but you're still very in touch with your feminine, right? And I'm curious, like, how have you built a successful business, and how do you build things? Like, you create and you build things like nobody's business, you know, like you're at a high level, and I mean that sincerely, and it's incredible. And at the same time, you are doing it from a place of authenticity, and you are not like you're still in touch with your feminine energy. How?
Yeah.
How do you look at
I'll
that?
say I have less steam now than I did 10 years ago. But, but I feel like my trajectory was similar to yours. When I think about when I first started my business, I didn't really like mean to start my business. I was like bopping around 19 years old and somehow it became a business. And I was so magnetic at that time because I was really balanced. Like I was just flying around, nothing mattered, and it was all synchronicity and what I felt like. But then when I was excited, I would hit it hard. And so that flow was super magnetic, and like that time in my life was so important. That's really when I grew my audience, you know, that kind of set me up for the rest of my business. But because that happened, I kind of like rolled into, okay, I have a business now. I need to learn about business. Wow. And that was a blessing and a curse. I learned so many important things, but it also really fucked me over in my head. And I got really, really into my masculine. And I think I definitely already had that mindset just growing up, like perfectionist with academics, like perfectionist with sport, like everything. I was like have to do it perfectly and an overdo of everything. And then I learned a lot about, you know, business and marketing and entrepreneurship and more like traditional business. And it really like got in my head. And I feel like that was when I experienced a lot of the stuckness, like a lot of stuckness. And it took me a long time to decondition myself. And to this day, I have to be like, whoa, like what part of me is that? And I'm grateful for the things I learned that were practical, but it really put me so hard on my masculine, my body totally shut down, you know? And that was when I got super, super sick again. And I had to shut down my business. And then I was like, okay, well, I need to still make money. So how can I make money while I'm sick? And I can't get up. I mean, there are months I couldn't even use my legs. Like I was like my vision would go out for days at a time. I was really ill. And that forced me to like just be in surrender and try a different way. And so I started learning a more feminine approach. And that's when I really started learning about like real manifestation, like energetics, and diving into that. And I started just applying all of that, and then my business started flowing again. But I think it's been this constant dance for me. And the thing that I've always had trouble with, because I think mentorship is so important, is I would always feel like a lot of the mentors I saw, it was like they're too in their masculine. Like, I don't want to just plug into this bro culture hustle thing.
Yeah.
Or they're way too in their feminine, or it's like, we just do our crystal yoni magic and, and like it'll come in. And I tried that, and I worked with a couple of mentors that really pushed me in that direction. Everybody was telling me I'm doing too much. So I listened to everybody else, and I really cut down on everything I was doing. I stopped seeing all clients. I was just like free floating all the time. And it made me sick.
Yeah.
Like because my creativity wasn't being used. My life force wasn't being used. Like, it wasn't authentic for me. And that was one of the times I felt the worst in my life. Because I really believe energy is meant to be used just in a healthy way, in the aligned way. And so I was like, okay, this isn't working. And so I think through that journey, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out both structurally with like my actual calendar. There's a logistic part of that, of like, how do I have space in my calendar, but also get enough done? Because, they were like, just wake up and whatever you feel inspired to do that. I'm like, nothing. Like, I'm just in a sea of everything. If you don't give me structure, I don't have anywhere to go, know? So I wasn't getting anything done. But I had to learn how to actually like logistically create a healthy structure for myself to get things done, but also have enough rest and build in enough rest and have balance with relationships and, friendships and career and just personal time and my health, because that's always top priority for me. And so I had to like structurally learn that, and then also energetically do that dance of like, okay, how can I allow my feminine excitement really, I think, lead me, but my masculine will come in and get it done. Like, my masculine does get it done. And I really,
and you have to trust that part of you too.
I really believe that they need to work together. And again, I think in this space it's very just like one or the other.
Right.
And I just think the magic is making it work together. And that is how I create things quickly, and I think there's a flow to it. Like, there's a timing piece of it. Like, if I'm not feeling it, I can't force it. But if I wake up and I'm feeling it, I can I can write a book in 2 days. Right? Like, done. But if I try to make myself write a book today because it was on my calendar, it will take me 3 months. It will take me 6 months.
So what's a practical tool that you might suggest to someone who is, let's say, a woman who wants to operate her business or her career more in her feminine?
In her feminine.
Her divine feminine.
Having business meetings with your soul. I think orienting there. So my morning's super important for me to drop in, and I spend a long time. Like, usually, I'm usually not actually working until like 10 or 11, sometimes 12 or 1, because that time in the morning for me to really drop in, like, is everything. It's what makes everything else go more smoothly. But so I think like really coming from that intuitive place, dropping into my body, into my soul, my intuition, and kind of feeling everything and getting the larger essence first, and then making decisions after that.
Makes sense. And is that like meditation, journaling?
Yeah, like, so
movement?
for me, it's like journaling. I do energy work on myself, and that's when I'm also meditating and kind of like dropping into my intuition in that space and moving my body. And I have different days if I'm moving my body for more of an intuitive purpose versus like more of a masculine purpose.
Makes sense.
So like using my body, but like dropping in, and any like detoxification practices I'll put in there as well, because that helps you connect in. So if it's sauna, if it's love a coffee enema, right, if it's a bath, like I'll take a bath in the morning, so I'll like rotate through those to like really drop in. Because for me, and like my partner says that he's like, you're a different person if you have your morning like meditation, because I come in and I'm on fire, like I'm ready to go. But it's like my masculine can't turn on and actually get things done if my feminine hasn't like turned on my sacral fire and my excitement first. Like, I've got to just get in the juice, and I don't need to know what it means, but I'm like, this is the vibe. I'm in the vibe, right? I'm not trying to make sense of my intuition in the morning. That's the important thing. Like, the morning is just all about like it's like a vibe. If I like, so I'm creating a new offer right now, and I don't even know what the title is, but I made the sales page and everything, and my team's like, what's the title? I'm like, it hasn't come in yet. But I'm like, this morning, I spent hours just like meditating in the energy of it and getting a sense of the energy. I'm not writing down like, these are the modules. This is what we're talking. No. Like, I'm just hanging out the vibe. How does it feel? It's sparkly. It's sparkly. It's gold. It's flowy, but it's also, it's like a temple. I'm like in it, right? I'm like, divine, like what wants to come through this, and it's all very conceptual, but I give myself that full space for me to get so locked in on it. And once I know that, when I drop out of that space, I sit down and I will write the sales page in 5 minutes, and I'll plan out the actual content in 5 minutes. But for me, I have to anchor into that first space, and that's how everything else goes really quickly. If I try to think about it logically, sometimes I do, and everybody knows it's painful and everyone gets irritated with me. Like, it's just like not worth my time.
Yeah. I love that. And I am very similar in that regard with my morning ritual, my morning vibe time. And sometimes it's very short, but coffee, journal, usually an Abraham Hicks video or CTC app. Shout out to CTC app. So the next level you, and listen to something, getting the vibe going. Maybe it's some music, whatever it is, but like just getting, and because I think it's the way that I know I'm able to approach my day when I feel it's like juicy, right? When it's like I feel excited to dive in, whatever it is. It's like there's momentum. I'm freaking flying. 100%, flying. Same way.
And the other thing for me that's super helpful has been archetypes. And like, if anybody's worked with me, like this is core to what I bring up in a more intimate setting, because I'm always dropping into, like, if it's busy, like in the morning, I am in priestess archetype. And once it's like work time, I'm in queen archetype. The queen gets shit done, right? But knowing that queen archetype is important because the queen makes choices, and she does it from a feminine energy, right? And I think understanding those archetypes is really helpful. Like the queen is supported. People are supporting the queen, but the queen is not laying on her butt eating bonbons all day. Like the queen is making decisions and like also like running the kingdom. And I think understanding that archetype was really important about the energy like I want to embody and like how I'm holding a feminine container for people to feel loved and supported. And I think even like with the way that I run my team, I am more orienting there from like king energy. And I have a lot of friends and clients who are women who are running their businesses from king energy, and it sucks for them, you know, like they come to me with all these complaints, and I'm like, because you're running it like a king. You need to run like a queen. Right. It's very different. When you're a queen, people want to support you. Right? Like, yes, I'm here to support the queen. Right? Like, sorry, the king's a little bit more of a like, oh, king, figure it out, you know? But it's a different energy. It's a very different energy. So the archetypes are really important to me.
That's great. Love that. Okay, let's talk about relationships.
Juicy.
Dating, relationships, how does this all play out in all of this? And we're talking different perspectives here as well.
Let me like transition that because I think one of the most important things is to learn how to be more in, if you want to be in your masculine, or you want to say it's more of your feisty feminine or queen, whatever you're holding, but to shift from that into your lover archetype or more of your feminine in dating or with your partner. If you, again, speaking from my perspective, if you are in that pole, and you should probably talk about holding masculine for the feminine. But that's something that I've learned I have to be really conscious of. And I'm not perfect, but it's like, I mean, like if my partner comes into my office before I've made my transition, he knows. He's like, that's exactly what I say. No, he's like, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it because I'm like in my mode. Right. But like, if he gets me after, like, if he doesn't come into my office, right, and I'm like had my transition, I go on my walk or whatever I do to drop in, I'm a different energy, and that's really important for us to hold the polarity, because and it's something we've talked about a lot that we have to be conscious of, that we've like both worked on. It's like, okay, we can't bring work voice into relationship. And that's something it's like, please no work voice, right? So we've both had to be conscious of like bringing work voice into the relationship. That's great. You know? And that's been something that's really important, and just having that conversation, because sometimes you don't realize you're bringing work voice in. Like I have to be conscious of, I can't talk to my boyfriend the way I'm talking to people who work for me. Right? Like, And sometimes when you're just all day doing stuff, it's easy to just keep with that flow of energy. So having a conscious shift, like for me, it's usually a walk.
Nice.
A walk is really important for me, or something to like get into my body. So I might do like a mini meditation or just like a couple of breaths, like to get into my body, into my feels, or something that's going to bring me into my feels.
Makes sense.
So music is something that's really fast. Like I'll just play like one song that puts me into my feels.
What's the song?
It's not like
I know, but do like what's a song?
I have like a huge
You got a playlist?
playlist.
Or
Yeah,
the playlist.
it's usually like keep listening to Chihiro. Do you know that song?
I don't know.
It's, spiritual music. But yeah, I have like a big playlist, but I know the music that drops me into my body, into my feels, and that's a really important, simple thing for me. But then I think also the piece of that nobody wants to talk about, but there are real skills. Like I believe that being in a relationship is a skill. And if you haven't gone out of your way to learn feminine communication, then I bet you don't know it. Like I can pretty much guarantee you. And so one of the most important parts of my journey has been like spending years like in coaching specifically for that, like working with mentors on like how to communicate in a feminine way with your partner. Obviously like books and study, like I've spent a long time on that, and healing my relationship with the masculine, because I was hyper masculine because I was comfortable with it within myself, but externally I didn't trust it. And I had a lot of stuff I had to unravel with masculine energy and trusting support. And that's the patriarchy, that's government, that's education, that's past partners, that's father, that's all of it. That's all of it together, and so I had to do a lot of healing around that, but I had to learn the skills about like how to actually communicate in a more feminine way in that context. And I think that's a really important thing to understand, like for couples, if we haven't gone out of our way to learn these skills, like you're not going to learn these skills, just by talking through it with each other. And I can't emphasize that enough. Like I just really fundamentally believe you can't. Like you can't, like you have to learn these things.
Makes total sense. Makes total sense.
Because people, I work with a lot of couples, and people can make it work within the dynamic they've figured out, but it's nowhere near if they have a template for divine masculine and divine feminine communication and orientation. It's completely different ballgame. Completely different.
Right. Yep. I like it. I'm talking from you're talking from a fantastic perspective, which is one that someone who's in a committed relationship who lives with that person as well, right? I'm single, and so I have a different perspective. I mean, it's all the same conversation, but there's different kind of perspectives and places, but I completely agree in that it is a skill acquisition, and there's transferable skills from coaching, personal work, spiritual work that transfer over, but it is a skill acquisition thing in terms of talking and how to act in a situation where you're having a conversation with a girl. I'm very lucky. I grew up with beautiful cousins and sisters and a mother, and in a Moroccan Jewish household where there is fire emotion that is running through our household. And I was just even reminded, just literally I was on a plane coming back. We were coming back from the East Coast, and I was sitting next to my mom, and it was just her and I in the row. The middle seat was open, and she was like listening to one of her podcasts or doing something, and she got like really fired up about something to the point where she it brought her to tears. And it was so interesting, but I remember consciously in that moment being like, all she needed was for me to just be like, to sit there and be like, I hear you. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I know I grew up in that kind of environment. I've watched how my dad's done it, maybe in more of a dismissive way too, but he's somehow done it. But I understood in the situation, like, I don't need to try to solve anything here. Like, I just need to be in my masculine, right? For this woman right here. I need to be just present. Yeah, I hear you. That's really upsetting. Like, okay. And I've become comfortable with other emotions around me, not only because I've grown up with it, but as I've gotten more comfortable with my own emotions. And that's the big thing. That's a big thing I talk to guys about all the time, is like, how can I expect to comfort or to be comfortable if my girlfriend or my partner, the person I'm dating, anyone across from me, if they're uncomfortable, it's our first instinct. Oh, it's okay. Don't cry, right? And that's because we're not willing to face that within ourselves, or we're not able to be able to express that emotion with ourselves, especially men. And so a lot of men will get uncomfortable. They'll try to solve. We go into, right, I'm sure that's the thing, how so many arguments happen. I'm just like, you don't need any solution right now. You just need to be heard. And that's a big part of that masculine feminine energy is to notice when someone, and it's like, it can be anyone. It can be a friend. It can be my mother. It's like, it can be a guy. Like, I do this for guy friends all the time as well, where it's just like, to be able to create that space, just like, yeah, I'm here with you. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. You are allowed to express. All of you are welcome right here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. And like that, just even saying those words in terms of like a masculine communication, like, oh, what does that do to the feminine? Right? I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. How does that drop the feminine in of the presence of like, I'm here? And that's a lot of the work. But it's like, that's not something you just learn by watching movies or YouTube, right? It's like, that's something that you learn or acquire from experience or from skill acquisition.
Alison Armstrong's work, I think, is some of the best work.
Yeah.
In
What
this
do you got?
space.
What recommendations do you have?
She's amazing, and was one of many people that like just changed my life. And I remember, and she got rid of this page on her website, and I'm like, can you put it back up? But it was a page that was like overview of how the male brain and the female brain work differently. And it was like life changing. And she was talking about, okay, the male brain is designed to hunt. The female brain is designed to gather. The male brain is linear. The male brain is focused on one thing at a time. When he's locked in on that tiger, he can't pay attention to anything else.
Right.
Literally, that's just not how he can think. The female brain is like, oh, I got to do this for dinner, and I'm meeting so-and-so for lunch, and then when am I getting my dress for this? And going all over the place. She's quantum, right? And she wants him to be quantum with her, but his brain does not work that way.
Right.
And he wants her to be linear. He's like, only one thing at a time. But she isn't wired that way.
Yeah,
and that was something where I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
And so she was talking about in fights how that plays out. And it's like, you know, you don't do the dishes, right? The man doesn't do the dishes. She's like, why didn't you do the dishes? And she has a big blow up. And in that moment, she's blowing up about the fact that you threw your laundry on the ground, you forgot to pick up your kid, and she's collected, she's gathered all these things. And in that moment, she's having that conversation. He's like, what the fuck? It's just the dishes, right? Because the brain is literally working differently. And so, you know, her point with her work is like, you have to understand yourself and how the other brain is just wired, and stop wanting everybody to be like you. Yeah. Because that's how we balance each other out. Right. So there are just a lot of that type of information, and even that awareness that she was describing, you know, what you were sharing about, like, what am I actually looking for as a woman? Like, I didn't even realize what I needed was somebody to just be like, I'm with you. Right. Like, just like, because if I'm throwing a temper tantrum and you just soften into it, I stop. Yeah. Right. But if you're trying to fix it, I'm getting more agitated. I don't need you to fix it. I don't want you to solve it. Right. And then the man gets pissed off. Like, well, what do you want? Exactly. Like, you don't want a solution? Then okay, you know, and then it just. Yeah. But. And then on the other side, right, like he comes home from work and he's had a hard day and he just goes on the couch and she's like, well, let's talk about it. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. Right. And no, you have to talk about it. Like, leave him alone. Let him go do his thing. Cool. Not my job to regulate you. He doesn't want to be mommied. Right. And so that was really helpful, and starting to see all of the places, like, because I think a lot of us probably, I mean, not everybody, but I think there are common examples, and you see this in media, and I know a lot of people might have grown up this way too, of, you know, your mother emasculating your father constantly, and you don't realize all of these really subtle places. She's emasculating him, she's, you know, babying him, and then what does he do? You know, like, if you speak to the little boy is going to respond. If you speak to the king is going to respond. And so it goes both ways, right? Of like, how am I talking to him? I'm going to pull that version of him out, right? And so becoming aware of, you know, where have you cut him down so much that what does he have left? Yeah. Right? Like that was a really important thing. And for me, it was like, okay, but if I see him as a king and he can solve, I'm communicating to him differently. And most women I see, like, I'll watch them talk to their partner and they're talking to him like he's a dum-dum. Like they're talking to him like, oh, I'll figure it out. You don't, that's his masculine essence, is to solve, right? And understanding, like, you know, the masculine requires purpose. Like that is what fulfills the masculine, purpose. What fulfills the feminine is connection. And so we all have that within ourselves. The masculine part of me requires purpose, and the feminine part of me requires connection. But in a relationship, when someone's playing a pole, right, the masculine partner requires fulfilling their purpose, and the feminine part requires connection. And so my role as the feminine is to support him in his purpose. Anything he needs to fulfill his purpose, right? And that feeds him so that he can drop into connection with me. And he also needs to see that from me as well. Like, you facilitate connection with me, right? Then I'm going to hold space for you to be in your purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing, you know, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of, like, everybody wants to blame each other, and it's an and. It's an and, right? And we can, it's like, yeah, you can make an argument either way, but at the end of the day, we have to understand how we're different, and we need different things. We want different things. And if I can support you in what you require, and you can support me, it all works out.
It works out, and society flourishes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So good.
I'm curious about, like, the dating piece, because I know a lot of people here are single.
Yeah.
This is my favorite topic.
Why? You're never single.
This is my oh, God. Well, I think I'm a relationship person.
You are, and
right?
you're damn good. It's so frustrating.
Dating is a skill.
Yeah.
Like, it is a skill, you know? And I think what's really important here is, I mean, my boyfriend and I were talking about this the other day. There's a lot of, like, dating advice out there that's just manipulation tactics. Like, that's not it.
Right. Sales tactics.
It's not a skill of, like, how do I adjust myself to, like, make someone, like, that's the opposite.
Right.
But it's like, how can I, like, hold space for my true essence to come forward? It is what it is. But there are a lot of skills in dating that I think are just communication skills in general. Yeah. Like, if you have general communication skills, like, about, can I let someone else speak? Like, I think, and I'll share things that I see. Yeah. I'll share things that I see personally.
Yeah. Love to see it.
Because I mean, people hate this, but I'm like, I have never met someone who's single who I don't know why they're single. Like, I swear, and people don't, but I'm like, it's true, right? Because on the feminine side, I think a lot of women, I'll watch them talk to people, and they steamroll men. They don't let them talk. They're in the emasculation energy, right? They're like, they're like showing off, like it's like that is deflective for him, right? Or they're really retracted, like they're really not showing anything. They're giving off that distrust. I think the attachment piece is huge. I think, look, when you're securely attached, dating is easier, right? Or you're gonna be anxious and attract an avoidant, or avoidant and attract an anxious person, and you know, but the secure attachment, which is our own inner work, right? And that's also when you start to date someone or meet people, this comes out in friends, right? And I'll look at certain friends I have, or people, or even just people I know, and I'm like, okay, you're doing this clingy thing with me. I can't imagine what you're doing with the guy you're dating. It's like, if you're triple texting me in 24 hours, I'm not surprised you're single. I'm sorry. You know, but it's like, they're just like self-regulation practices. And I say that with love, but it's like, I had to look at my, like, for me, I was super avoidant, right? And so, and I know when I, like, start to, but I'm like, I had to learn to be present. I had to learn to not look for any reason to run or, like, pick him apart, or, you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot of picking him apart. And so you have to start to learn that, and you show up differently, and you give people more of a chance, and you you sit in it. You sit in it.
Totally. And it's funny too, because I see that a lot, and, like, some of my friends, like, show me the texting with the girl. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, too much blue, man. Yeah. Too much blue.
Yeah.
too much blue. Like, that energy comes across, and it's like, no, you should be totally stoked to text a person or whatever, but what I found to work really well, and again, I'm single, and I'd love for you to tell me and everyone here why I'm single too, so you guys all want to know, right? You guys are like, what's the read? Like, what's the real? I'm sure many people here could tell me why I'm single, but
I'm sure they could.
What'd you say?
I'm sure they could.
But that is something that I've found that's helpful, is just being like, I don't, and maybe it's just for me too personally, but, like, and I'm curious from the woman's perspective, but, like, this constant need for this connection, like the constant energy stream that's open, right? And I don't know, when you're dating early on, that can be something that feels energizing in a way, but to me, what's been very helpful is to like set the clear container of like, cool, we're FaceTiming tomorrow, great, I'll talk to you then, or like we're going on a date this weekend, great, I'll pick you up then, and having some more of that like container around those situations. But I'm curious from your perspective, from the woman perspective, like what are, because you hit the nail on the head there, which is that a lot of women are either too postured in their masculine, and it's just like, whoa, like, or too, and I want to be careful how I say that, but you said it perfectly, or not. There's no opportunity.
They're not showing their essence, right? Like,
That's what
I meet
it
a
is.
lot of women, I'm like, you're amazing. You're just not like showing. You're just not really letting your energy be felt.
Right.
You know,
right,
you just need
right.
to let your energy be felt.
What is it from the guy's perspective that you see?
Like, why are most guys single?
Yeah, or like what are the things that are preventing the, like, when the same reason that the guy would see that with the woman, like what would be on the opposite side, where it's just like, oh, this guy's just talking too much, or he doesn't care what or he's too clingy,
I mean,
or what?
A good amount of this might be colored by where we live, okay? But down here, it's Peter Pan's. It's just Peter Pan's. Down, it's a lot of there are a lot of men that want moms. They want moms. They want partners. A lot of men that are too in their feminine, like in their relationship. And it's funny because they can be really in their masculine in regular life, and they get in the relationship, they're like, oh, a mom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they will literally do that. They don't realize they want that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's swipe culture. It's grass is always greener. You know, I can't commit, right?
Yeah.
It's avoidant. It's a lot of avoidance. There's a lot of men down here, like, love you guys, but you're 45, you're not 21 anymore. It's just, like, I think a lot of men who struggle are looking for very surface level things. And I think there is a maturity piece. I think people had an easier time back in the day for a number of reasons. One, like, okay, there weren't as many options, so maybe they were less picky, but also we weren't living in the land of like Botox and fake boobs. So it was like, I really want a partner.
Right.
There was that cute little time, like past, like marriage is a financial decision, where people were like, who do I want my wife to be? And so I do think I have so many conversations. I'm like, your compass is just off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Why? It's always going to come back to, I'm attracting someone that reminds me of my mom.
Right.
I'm going to date my mom, or I'm going to date my dad. That comes up too. I also find that on the other side, there's a lot of men who will be really attracted to ambition, which is either they end up dating a woman who is hyper masculine and either toxic or just steamrolling them, or they never meet anybody because no one's ambitious enough, right? But then they get in their relationship and they don't like her ambition. Right. They don't like it. It's a threat, right? And so I do think a lot of it is inner insecurity that comes up for again, it's there's a lot of different things, but there's that inner insecurity because you say you want a woman like this, then you receive her and it's like, fuck, this is too much for my ego. I gotta go. Gotta get out of here, right? Like, that is a very real thing.
Yep.
And so that's why I think talking about the masculine void and the feminine response, this is biased in one lens. I think, like, we have work to do 100%.
Yeah.
But on that side of it, like, what is the void? I think that, like, a lot of women feel like, where is a man who is truly confident in himself, not in his ego?
Right.
That is rare. Like, and who honors and reveres the feminine.
Yeah.
The same way, like, though we have to learn to honor and revere the masculine. And I was sharing this. I did a podcast also with a sex expert 2 days ago. Nice. So we had a theme this week.
Great.
Laura Berman, she's amazing, and that will come out soon. But I was talking about, like, some of my journey sexually, and I really had to learn to, it wasn't just like I wanted a partner and I wanted to worship the masculine. And I had why the fuck would I worship a man, right? Like, but that was translating for me sexually, and that was translating for me in, like, honoring and respecting, like, a man as a king. Like, if I couldn't if I couldn't do that, and so I had to really heal a lot of that to be to throw that place of like that I revere him, I respect him, and that's what I wanted from a man. So how can I ask that of him if I'm not willing to do that?
Totally.
You know, so I think it goes both ways. So those are some of the things I see with men.
Yeah.
You know,
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you gave me a loving call out. Some of you guys probably heard this story, but not too long ago, maybe, I don't know, a year ago at this point. And you said, and it was very helpful, and I think everybody could use a little bit of that reality check of, you were like, you say that you want to attract your wife. You say that you're ready for a relationship, but your actions don't align with that. I was like, what do you mean? And and you're like, well, as long as you keep hanging around and dating good, you're never going to receive great. I was like, shit, that's real. And that, with a couple other things and a couple other experiences, really got me thinking about things differently to how I'm thinking about things now. And so this is a live experiment, and I'm welcome you all into the experiment, but it's changed the way that I'm dating, and it's changed the way that I'm holding myself and the way and what I'm looking for, because I'm clear. It's like, I know who I am and I know what I want. I'm clear on that, and I know where I'm going, and I need to hold the pose, so to speak. And I'm now bringing up conversations. The dating criteria is changing because I am ready for a relationship, and I know that, like, casually hooking up with girls here or there, going even just casually dating girls here or there, if I know based on the few non-negotiables that I've decided that, like, this is not, or very quickly, like, again, I'm that sacral authority where I just know it's like, yeah, she's attractive, or yeah, this could be a fun time and this could be great exploration and lots of fun, but, like, if I know this is not gonna go anywhere, like, why even bother? Why get entangled into that energy? And so I'm holding the pose, so to speak. But I think there's this fine line too of, like, how do you set that container, but also allow something to develop, right? Or be too specific. Yeah. So. Oh
man. Okay, that's good. Before I kind of answer that directly, I think what's really important about relationships is, I think nowadays people are way too obsessed with chemistry and they forget compatibility. I think on the other side, there are people that are just thinking about compatibility and they're forgetting chemistry. You know, but I do think, I think a lot of people forget the compatibility piece.
I was chemistry only. Like, cool, great connection. Yeah. I could care less. There's a great connection there. Let's go on that chemistry. We have chemistry. Let's explore it. Yeah.
And you've got to have both, right? And I think with that, it's okay. There's what I want now, but most people are not thinking about who's the partner I'm going to want to be with in 10 years. And I think that's a really important factor for people. I think especially for men, if they oriented that way, it would change how they perceive who they're dating right now.
Say that one more time.
Well, they're looking for a good time right now,
right? But
can this woman mother your kids?
Right.
Like, and that's a reality check, you know. And I think I shared this with you too. Like, when there was a moment I was like, I'm not dating anymore to just like, who do I want to be my boyfriend? I'm dating of like, can this man be a father? That was my question. And it knocked so many people out. Right. It changed my priorities, and it changed how I viewed people. Right. Because just, if you're not mature enough to be a father, I'm not waiting for you to maybe become mature enough to be a father, you know? And for men, I tell them that as well. They're dating these women and there's all this drama. And I'm like, can she mother your kids? Like, if you're having to mother her, she can't mother. There's no space, right? So I think people really need to think about that. And I think the compatibility piece of, like, your lifestyles, right? Like, people want to live different types of lives. I think for entrepreneurs, that's really important. This is a conversation, like my clients who are in entertainment, it's like, you have to be with someone that understands that industry. Like, if you're traveling a lot, the person has to be okay with that, right? They have to love that too. Are you a couple that wants to travel a lot together? Do you want more of a, like, we want a family, we want to be home a lot? Like what's the dynamic you want? Right. And even things like political beliefs, it's like people also forget about some of that sometimes. Like, I'll deal with it later. And I think other times people don't give room for people to gain new knowledge and maybe adjust as well. I think that energy of non-attachment is really important, and just the energy of curiosity. Nice. I do not think you should go into a first date as an interview, which most people do. And I find that a lot of entrepreneurs I work with who are single are way too quick to judge. this happens all the time. I'll be like, this person would be amazing for you. No. Like, this is why you're single. And every single person, like, oh, I think I'm going to date this guy. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, all the red flags, right? Because the compass is off, and you have to give it a little room to actually get to know people. And I see this also on the spiritual side, right? And that more intuitive, we're soulmates. We had an instant soul connection. It's like, and now suddenly it's a free pass, right? For everything. And it goes both, and it's like, this is just
it's okay. They're acting like that. They're my twin flame. They're supposed to trigger me. It's acceptable.
It's like,
golly.
I mean,
shit.
It's really dangerous territory. But my point with that is people will meet someone on the first and second date. They'll make a judgment.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I decided on the second date, this is my person. And they miss everything else. And it should be the opposite. Like, I know so many amazing couples. They're like, yeah, it was like 5 times of meeting him before I was even into him.
Totally.
And I think a lot, and not every time, right? I also know a lot of couples where it was like instant connection, but there's so many times when that slow burn is everything, because you have that foundation of like, I think it's healthy to come in with some skepticism.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like, it really locks you in.
Yeah.
But I think people can really be blinded by instant chemistry. And what is that chemistry? Okay, is it
hormones?
Your hormones,
right.
You know, who's ovulating, like, you know, what did you just go to the gym, what are your pheromones doing? I think there's the issue, oh yeah, you're my karmic soulmate in a past life, you're gonna fuck me up, or I feel chemistry with you, you know.
Right.
So I think there's that. I think there's a lot, and a lot of that chemistry for people is, you remind me of my ex, or you remind me of my dad, or you remind me of my mom.
Yep.
You feel familiar.
Right.
Yeah, I bet they do, right?
Yep.
Like, and they're that person that you're trying to run away from, and you
Yep.
just keep doing it again and again and again. And that is, I would say, 95% of the time what people think is, they identify as chemistry. And it's, you know, you feel that fire because they feel familiar, because that's your toxic ex, because that's your dad, because that's your mom, and you find out 6 months later.
Right. And then all your friends were like, told you so. But
Yeah.
it's that dopamine, that's that adrenaline rush, that response of familiarity and that excitement in our system. But it can be confusing. I think part of it too is that it's like, look, I'm a hopeless romantic. Every time I walk through the airport, I'm like, is my wife somewhere around here?
Yeah.
Right? Like, maybe she's gonna sit next to me, right?
Yeah.
But part of the reason is because that's like romanticized in a big way, right? Of like the instant connection, the spark, the love at first sight, but the slow build is the it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's also the, like, look at someone's actions and how they actually show up. Look at their embodiment, right? Because especially, like, when I'm looking at, like, in dating, okay, does he initiate the dates? Does he plan the dates? Or is he being like, oh, you know, like, wishy-washy? Is he trying to do this equal thing? You're not initiating. Right, you got to initiate.
Right.
And
you mean it's not attractive when he says, "Let's just go with the flow and see what happens"?
It's absolutely not attractive, right?
Kidding.
So you're looking for initiation, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I know, like, from the man's perspective, he's also watching. Like, can you let him just do it?
Right.
Right. And like, so many women are picking apart the plans. Just let him make a plan. It's okay if it's not perfect. Get over it. It's gonna be fine.
It's cute.
It's like, just to enjoy it. Someone's trying to give to you.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's not perfectly how you would do it. It like what's beautiful about it is that it's his idea.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's that. You have to be able to receive that and allow him to make a plan. And it doesn't have to be that big of a deal if it's not perfect, you know, but I think really looking at people's actions and how they show up consistently, and you have to let that reveal itself, because people can be on really good behavior the first 3 months. Yeah, you can play a role for 3 months, right? But you keep going in, and you keep going with the experiment, and you see how behaviors change, and you see how different life contexts bring up different things in people, and you have to look at, like, how does this person, you know, handle conflict, and how does this person react when life gets hard, right? What's their mindset? Where are they in victim energy? Like, we have to be looking at all of that. How do they treat people around them? You know, I think that people just need to see things play out longer, you know? So
makes sense.
But then that initiation, I'll say, is a big void.
The initiation.
Big void, I think women are looking for.
What about when it comes to initiating conversation around, hey, this is how I feel about this. How do you feel? You know what I mean? Like a conversation of like a check-in. Hey, I notice I feel this attraction, or I feel XYZ. Like, where is the fine line for the masculine to be able to create the container for like, let's have a conversation, let's drop in, like, how are you feeling? Here's how I'm feeling, versus like letting something develop.
Well, I think if you know, then you say it.
Yeah.
The same way, like, if I know, I'm going to express it, but I'm not going to express it in a masculine way. Like, will you be my boyfriend?
Right.
No. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to be like...
Yeah, I think where that question comes from is that I know so many guys, myself included at times, where it's just like, is she into me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm into her. I think that there's something there, but is there really? Like,
that's the problem.
That's the problem.
We don't need that energy.
We don't need that energy.
Here's the thing. A woman might not know because you're feeding off each other's energy.
Welcome to our live therapy session.
She's looking for, like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If she might be unsure, and the second you like are brave enough to be like, hey, I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
She's like, damn, that was attractive.
Yeah.
Right? Like he said it. He said that's your job.
Right.
That's your job as a masculine.
Yep.
Right? And that wishy-washy thing is like, and everybody feels wishy-washy then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think from both sides, it's like, I would never, like, playing in the feminine part, I would never try to pretend I'm like less into someone. I would never try to wait for him to say his feelings for me to express mine. I'm gonna make it extremely obvious where I'm at.
Yes,
always.
That's important.
Right? Like, that's really important.
Yep.
But I think what I want in a masculine is that you're gonna initiate in that more verbal way.
Yep, definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And men are, and the issue is that men are waiting for the woman to initiate.
Yeah.
And that throws off the polarity.
Why are they waiting for the woman to initiate?
I think because nice guys don't want to come across as too strong.
Yeah.
They don't want to be part of the problem. They don't want to come across as, I don't want to hurt you more. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's like, I don't want to, like...
Yeah, the problem with the nice guy.
The problem with the nice guy. Yeah. Talk a lot about that.
Well, it's because where the problem lies is you're either the nice guy, doesn't work out, or you're the toxic masculine guy, doesn't work out.
Yep. Good man. That's the in-between, right? What we're striving for.
What do you say? Something about dangerous.
Something about dangerous?
Yeah. What do you say?
What do I say?
It's about guys. Okay, what's not the nice guy, but not toxic masculine?
Oh, like Jordan Peterson says, which is a good man is not a harmless person. It's a dangerous man who has it under control, under voluntary control. It's someone who is capable of knowing his dark side, but has that under control. Not someone who doesn't know what that is or tries to shove it away or numb it out, but someone who has that full exploration of himself and is it's a violent man, so to speak, that has that in control, which is kind of a scary thought to think about, but men are capable of violence. We're all capable of violence, but it's that combination of just like we can't just ignore that part of us as men. We have to embrace that part of us as well.
Well, I think it goes on both sides. It's like that we know our power and we're conscious enough to like channel that power in a healthy way.
Totally.
And like I think that that's very attractive on both sides in partnership, to that your partner knows their power and that they're channeling it in a healthy way.
Definitely.
Right? So I feel like, I mean, we could go forever, but I want to start to
let's do it.
Close
let's do this.
the loop on this.
Great.
To bring in,
so we can bring in some.
Did you have any closing thoughts on this part of the conversation?
No, I feel like I've learned a lot. And
what did you learn?
Well, all the things we're talking about,
Okay,
just
cool.
like, it's just great to hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to see what's alive in the field. If there's some things alive in the field over here, but I'm sure there are.
Cool.
Beautiful. Well, shall we land this plane and bring it on home?
Bring it home.
I gotta pee.
Bring it home,
Great.
Josh.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for coming and showing up. Did you guys receive some value from this conversation? Yes. Great. Received something that you came for, maybe you didn't know you came for, but this is great, guys. This is the work, right? Like, this is just doing this conversation, having this conversation. This is the work. This is very healing from a masculine perspective, from a man's perspective. Like, to be in the space to talk about this, very healing. Hopefully from the women and the feminine perspective, also very healing to hear from someone like Michael, and to be able to be in the presence of other men who are doing this work. And so this is a work we must continue to do, and the conversations we must continue to have. And I thank you all for being a part of the solution and to continue to have these conversations.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being here and being such an awesome audience.
Yeah.
And this is my sacred space. So
Yeah.
thanks for christening it with
Heck yeah.
with new
First
energy.
live pod in this room back here.
First
Yeah.
live pod in this room,
Sweet.
which is fun.
Should we do more? Should we do more of live pods? Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Beautiful. Cool.
Yeah, I like the
Sweet.
intimacy. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming out, and hopefully see you at a future event. All right.
Thanks, guys.